Welcome to the Wealth Beyond Debt show. I'm your host, Sarah, and sitting alongside me is my co-host, Leah. In today's episode, we're tackling a pressing topic, the U.S. national debt, which has now surpassed a staggering $38 trillion. While this figure may seem abstract, it has significant implications for every American. We'll break down the complexities of the national debt, its components, and how it accumulates, all in relatable terms. Let's dive in and empower ourselves with the knowledge to understand our nation's economic future. Welcome to our discussion. We're diving into the topic of the U.S. national debt. Yeah, that enormous $38 trillion figure that's been making waves.
I'm really excited to talk about this. It's such a huge number and so abstract sometimes, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's like, when you see a massive mountain and have to climb it, you know what I mean? We have to break it down into understandable chunks.
Right, exactly. So what really is the national debt?
At its core, the national debt is the total money the U.S. federal government owes. It's, not just a single pile of cash. It's actually split into two main parts: the debt held by the public and the intragovernmental debt. The public debt is what we owe to external buyers like individuals, corporations, and even other countries, while the intragovernmental debt is basically what the government owes itself through trust funds like Social Security and Medicare.
Got it. And that's why sometimes you'll hear people talking about gross national debt versus debt held by the public, right?
Exactly. The gross national debt includes every form of federal borrowing, whereas debt held by the public tells us more directly who outside the government is on the hook.
Yes.
This second measure really gives us insight into the impact on financial markets and ultimately on the everyday American.
I see. So, how does this debt even accumulate in the first place?
Well, the government accumulates debt when expenses, like spending on programs and services, outpace revenues like taxes. It's like spending more than your paycheck allows. You end up borrowing on your credit card. And over time, these annual budget deficits add up, especially during big events like economic downturns or crises, such as the COVID-19 pandemic.
And when crises hit, we tend to see a spike in government spending to support the economy, which only pushes the debt even higher.
That's right, and what's interesting is that these trends have deep historical roots. After World War II, the debt-to-GDP ratio was pretty high, but it declined as the economy boomed. But then tax cuts and increased spending in later years reversed that decline.
So it's kind of like a pendulum. Different policies shifted back and forth over the decades.
It's almost like a seesaw. On one side, you have policies that stimulate growth and spending, and on the other, measures that try to rein it in. But it's like if you keep borrowing to cover deficits, eventually that interest, the cost of borrowing, starts to weigh heavily on the economy.
That's true. Speaking of interest, I've heard that as the national debt grows, interest payments can crowd out other essential government spending. Is that accurate?
Precisely. A bigger debt means higher interest bills, which end up consuming a larger portion of federal revenue. And remember, that's money that could have gone into education, infrastructure, or research. This trade-off is at the core of why fiscal responsibility is such an urgent issue.
It really makes you wonder about the long-term consequences for future generations, right?
Absolutely, and it's a serious concern. The growing debt means that, if not managed, future generations could face higher taxes, reduced government services, and even, a risk of economic instability. The debt isn't something that just disappears. It lingers as a legacy for tomorrow's policymakers and, every citizen.
And that ties into the whole idea of the per-person debt, right? Like, if you divided that $38 trillion among every American, it's massive.
Exactly. When you do that math, each individual's share of the debt becomes a real, tangible number that hints at potential impacts on taxes and services. It's a way to personalize something that, on its face, is overwhelmingly abstract.
Right, exactly.
Attention, a life-changing career opportunity is here. and it can't wait. Agents and brokers are needed in all 50 states, and the best part? No license, no experience required. Every day, Americans struggle with nearly $40 trillion in debt. But you can be the solution. Imagine helping families break free while unlocking the chance to earn $1,000 or more every single day. With our award-winning debt elimination program, you can earn $500 to $1,500 for every person you help. This is your moment to step into financial freedom and change lives. Don't wait. The future is calling. Will you answer?
Now, looking at the projections, some experts say the debt could hit nearly $50 trillion by 2025. Isn't that a bit alarming?
It is. And that projection is based on current trends like ongoing deficits and rising interest rates. The Congressional Budget Office and other analysts warn that if we don't address these underlying issues, like excessive spending and insufficient revenue, the numbers will only keep climbing.
Indeed. But here's a point I want to challenge a bit. Some argue that a high debt level isn't necessarily disastrous if the economy grows fast enough. What do you think about that?
That's a good question, and it's a nuanced topic. Sure, if economic growth outpaces the debt growth, the debt to GDP ratio could stabilize, but past a certain point, high debt can still lead to higher borrowing costs and risks of a financial crisis. Plus, there's no guarantee that growth will always be robust. It's like, well, relying on wind to fill your sails, you're hoping for favorable conditions every time.
I see your point there. It's a delicate balance between growth and responsible debt management.
Absolutely, it is. And speaking of balance, the federal deficit plays a huge role. Remember, the deficit is what happens annually when spending eclipses revenue. And then that deficit adds to the overall debt. And any strategy to reduce the debt has to address both spending cuts and changes to the tax system.
And there's also the political element. The debt ceiling comes into play, right?
Yes, the debt ceiling is a sort of legal cap on borrowing that often leads to heated debates in Congress. It's like a pressure valve that, if not managed carefully, can jeopardize economic stability. Politicians sometimes use it as a bargaining chip, which adds even more complexity to an already difficult fiscal scenario.
So, with all these challenges, what kind of strategies are experts suggesting to manage or reduce the national debt?
Many experts and organizations like the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget suggest a dual approach: spending reductions in strategic areas, think defense and entitlement programs, and revenue increases through tax reforms. They argue that both levers need pulling at the same time to stabilize or even reduce the debt to GDP ratio.
But isn't there often a lot of political resistance to increasing taxes, especially when you consider the impact on everyday Americans?
Oh, definitely. Tax reform is a contentious subject. It's kind of like trying to adjust a thermostat in a room with people who are all used to a specific warmth. Everyone's got their own comfort level. And any move to increase revenue can be met with fierce opposition on both sides of the political spectrum.
Right, and on top of that, reducing spending on programs that people rely on is politically risky too.
Exactly, it's a double-edged sword, but some argue that without making these tough choices, the long-term consequences, like a potential financial crisis or stifled economic growth, could be even worse.
Yes, that's a fair point. And let's not forget the personal impact. It's important for everyday citizens to stay informed.
Yes, being informed is key. Whether it's through nonpartisan outlets like the Congressional Budget Office or engagement through town halls and letters to elected officials, it's crucial for people to understand how these enormous figures impact things like interest rates, borrowing costs, and even the quality of government services.
Absolutely. It's almost as if the debt is this invisible force that touches every part of our lives, even if we don't see it directly.
Precisely. And that's why, despite its abstract nature, it should be a central topic in discussions about the nation's economic future. Every policy decision and fiscal strategy now shapes the economic reality for millions of Americans tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Wow, it's just staggering to think about the breadth of these implications, from interest payments to the very structure of government spending.
It really is. And as we wrap up, I think it's clear that while the $38 trillion mark is alarming, it's also a call to action. A call to understand, debate, and hopefully take steps towards a sustainable fiscal future.
Indeed. Thanks for the insightful discussion. It definitely makes this daunting topic feel a bit more, manageable.
Thank you. And remember, staying informed and engaged is the first step toward meaningful change.
You won't believe what I just found out. Check this out. My neighbor asked me a few days ago, are you paying off your mortgage the old school way or the new way? I said, what you are talking about. He tells me the old way, 30 years of mortgage payments with over $300,000 just in interest, or the new way. There is a financial program that Debt Free Made Easy offers, which enables anyone to pay off their 30-year mortgage in just 5 to 7 years and save more than $190,000 in interest. Really, yes, I am for real 100% guaranteed. Here's the best part. There's no refinancing, no changes to your budget, and no changes to your lifestyle. Incredible. I was curious, so I checked it out for myself. The results? My 30-year mortgage and all my other debts will be completely eliminated in just 7.4 years, and I'll save over $219,000 in interest, which goes back into my pocket. I will be debt-free and living life on my own terms. Listen to me. If you're trapped in the old way, see how much time and money Debt Free Made Easy can save you. It's quick, easy, and life-changing. The banks do not want you to know this, but don't let them know I told you. The secret is out. Scan the code or click the link below and start getting some of this money back today.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for a fantastic discussion today on the Wealth Beyond Debt show. I really appreciated our in-depth discussion into the complexities of the U.S. national debt and its implications for all Americans. And a big thank you to our wonderful audience for tuning in. Remember, we're all in this together, fighting against the big banks and putting your money back in your pockets. The banks have kept this information a secret from the masses, and our mission here is to bring awareness about debt, eliminate it, and help you create wealth to live life on your own terms. You can visit our website to get the full blog article on this subject. Until next time, take care and stay empowered. If you found this episode valuable, please like and share it to help others on their journey to financial freedom. We want to hear from you, so don't hesitate to comment with any topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes.